Earth. Fire. Air. Water.
I'm sure you're all familiar with this intro, as it would always play at the beginning of every episode to one of the most popular children's cartoon shows from Nickelodeon, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Created by Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, the show would go on to make 3 seasons between 2005 to 2008, and would garner a worldwide audience, millions of views, and numerous of eponymous accolades. It is without a doubt one of the most brilliant animated series to ever hit television. The show was about an airbender named Aang, who was the Avatar, a peacemaker between all 4 nations and master of the elements, whose destiny was to bring balance to the world by defeating the Firelord. But after Aang's journey was complete, what came next? It wasn't until 2012 that Michael and Brian crafted a sequel to the show, titled The Legend of Korra. And although LOK isn't quite as popular as ATLA, The Legend of Korra manages to create another mesmerizing and harrowing journey within the world of Avatar. But regardless of how much LOK retains and builds upon the world and story from ATLA, there still seems to be quite a lot of criticisms to the show, ranging from storytelling technique, character development, etc. Sure, its marks and viewership are not as high as its predecessor, and hardcore fans of Avatar may not love Korra as much, but this doesn't take away from the amazing feats that The Legend of Korra improves upon from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. I'll be going over how The Legend of Korra takes away 3 specific details from The Last Airbender and develops them to a higher degree, backed by numerous examples from the show. Note that this isn't a video about how one show is better than the other, as both have their own strengths and weaknesses, but rather this is a video about how The Legend of Korra is a great example of what it means to have a sequel, to take ideas from the previous incarnation, retain some of its core values, and yet produce a nuanced quality. So, let's get started. The Legend of Korra has far more interesting villains than Avatar: The Last Airbender, and are much more numerous. Let's begin with the main antagonist of Season 1, Amon. Amon was a masked revolutionary who believed in equality between benders and non-benders.
The only thing bending has brought to the world is suffering. It has been the cause of every war, in every era.
Amon is an interesting and dynamic villain because he isn't just evil for evil's sake. He was raised by Republic City's most dangerous and wanted criminal, Yakone, and after Avatar Aang took away Yakone's bending, he sought revenge through his kin. 2 boys, Tarlok and Noatak, were then taught their father's psychic-like blood-bending abilities. Since their childhood, they were bred to be fighters, almost killers, all to be used as tools for their father's retribution against the Avatar. This of course turned one of the boys, Noatak, into a twisted, merciless bender. Eventually, Noatak decided that he wouldn't be used by his father anymore, and turned against him. From there on, he donned a mask, and decided for himself that he would do away with benders as it ruined his family and his childhood. Because of his horrible background, he has a reason to be angry and so hateful towards benders, wanting to take away people's bending for good, and to ensure that no one would ever go through what he endured ever again. Already, this makes Amon's background understandable, which makes him all the more believable as a villain. I like to think of a good villain as someone who is just like any regular person who's just had a bad day. As writer Ben Bova puts it, in the real world, there are no villains. No one actually sets out to do evil. There are no villains cackling and rubbing their hands in glee as they contemplate their evil deeds. There are only people with problems, struggling to solve them. And compare this guy to the last main villain of the series, the mustache-twirling Firelord Ozai, who we knew nothing of really and was just evil just because. I'd say Amon is the first example among the villains of how the Legend of Korra improves upon Avatar: The Last Airbender. But it doesn't stop there. Season 2's villain, Unalaq, or Korra's uncle, was a deceitful yet intelligent opponent who had strong ideologies in spirituality. He firmly believed that the first Avatar, Avatar 1, made a mistake when he closed the spirit portals and separated humans from spirits. He saw the world differently, wanting to ensure that spirits would coexist with human beings. And while all this at first sounds like a noble cause, years later he would once more deceive Avatar Korra into releasing Vaatu, the darker half of the Avatar spirit, so that Unalaq would merge with it and become a different kind of Avatar, one that would bring about a change to the world so that the spirits were brought back into the world once more and never imprisoned. Season 3 featured Zaheer and the Red Lotus. Zaheer was an ideological anarchist who took the teachings of the ancient airbenders to heart. Zaheer and company all believed in a world where the people should be freed of oppressive leaders, that it should be given back into their hands to have their own independence and sovereignty. But Zaheer goes deeper than that, for he believed in the ancient writings of Air Nomad Guru Lahima.
True freedom can only be achieved when oppressive governments are torn down. Do you know who once said, "New growth cannot exist without first the destruction of the old"?
No.
The wise Guru Lahima, an airbender.
Zaheer wanted to help people be freed of their earthly tethers and to transcend, to transform the world into something greater. And then there was Kuvira of Season 4, an orphan of the Earth Kingdom who believed in taking back the land originally belonging to Earth Kingdom territory and to rebuild the nation to become stronger than ever so that the Earth Kingdom citizens would no longer suffer under the governments of other nations, no matter what the cost. All of these villains, all of them, are far more vastly interesting than any of the other adversaries Aang ever faced in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Each of them with their own sense of purpose, with a background or brief history of some sort that makes them relatable, and most importantly, believable. We never learned anything about Firelord Ozai, or what made him tick, or why he ever acted the way he acted, and that makes him two-dimensional, flat, and boring. And this is why I believe that The Legend of Korra has far superior antagonists than ATLA ever did. Moving along into my second point, themes. The themes were much more complex and intellectual in The Legend of Korra. While Avatar: The Last Airbender focused much more on personal growth, Korra delved deep into political ideas, each represented by the villains I mentioned earlier. Amon believed in equality, or another way of looking at it, communism. Unalaq wanted to bring about theocracy into the world. Zaheer and the gang wanted anarchism, and Kuvira was clearly a fascist. Each had their own way of throwing the world off balance just so Korra could learn to rise to the occasion, learn how to grow as an avatar, and bring balance back into the world once again. Season 1 dealt with a lot of ideas of how benders might be too powerful, living in a world where they could easily bully the non-benders. The citizens of Republic City were stricken with fear by organized crime mobs filled with powerful benders, groups of people protesting how they are left defenseless as benders oppressed them and ran the world. Amon presented moral issues of inequality among a society. The problems she faces in Season 1 allow her to rethink the world and how the balance between benders and non-benders should be changed.
There's nothing innocent about it.
They're not equalists. They're just normal people who want their rights back.
Season 2 presented the themes of spirituality and what it means to respect nature and the world around you. This, as well as the idea that a person doesn't have to be measured by where they come from, but who they are now and how willing they are to achieve greatness. Seasons 3 and 4 dealt with socio-political issues of government and of how both sides can never truly be right or wrong. Combine this with the themes of PTSD and Korra's recovery from depression and self-doubt, and you've got a show that is far more intelligent than one might initially think. Finally, my third and last point. The animation in The Legend of Korra is without a doubt the best looking and best quality of animation in the industry of action cartoons. The illustrations, color, and fluidity of the action in Legend of Korra is something that surpasses The Last Airbender on all accounts.
And evidence speaks for itself if you watch almost any scene of The Legend of Korra. Specifically, if you watch any episode animated by the talented Studio Mir, which is some of the most well-crafted episodes in the entire series. Studio Mir, who is known for their work on the Boondocks and the more recent Voltron series. And while Avatar The Last Airbender did have reputable Asian-based animation studios at the helm of their episodes, such as JM Animation and DR Movie, there is just something much more divine and serene of the beauty in The Legend of Korra. Wide landscapes depicting a bustling city, or the glorious outside world, or the intense and gripping fight scenes. Each piece of animation is a step above everything that Avatar The Last Airbender had. And boy, did ATLA have good animation.
Why, you're the Avatar, ain't you?
Yep, that's me.
I can't believe it! Mind if I take a picture for my wall of avatars?
In conclusion, The Legend of Korra was an amazing, well-written, well-thought-out, and well-animated series. While Avatar The Last Airbender was indeed superb, 3 important elements to the show was taken by its sequel, only to be reworked and improved upon even further, epitomizing what it means to truly make a good sequel. Both shows have their own ups and downs, and I'm sure everyone has their own reasons for liking one more over the other. But overlooking these 3 core foundations of The Legend of Korra would be a mistake for any fan of the original series to make. If you like Avatar, if you like important, complex lessons and themes, great villains, and awesomely animated fight scenes, then The Legend of Korra is definitely for you. Thanks for watching.